What's up, everybody? Bob Vieira here, Universal Short Sales. We're going to do a quick pre-foreclosure deep dive today here on Justin's channel. So, to kick things off, what is a pre-foreclosure? What do I mean when I say pre-foreclosure? Now, a lot of people think that whenever you hear the word pre-foreclosure, you automatically assume that it's simply just somebody who's behind on their mortgage. Okay, this isn't true. You could be behind on your mortgage payments and not fall into pre foreclosure. So, an actual pre foreclosure status is when somebody is several months behind, typically around 90 days behind, and their mortgage servicer, their bank who holds their mortgage note, files what's called a lis pendens against their property, and they start to move forward, get the paperwork started for the actual foreclosure process. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say pre foreclosure. Again, it doesn't just mean that somebody's behind on their mortgage. Quick example, just to paint a picture for you. Let's say I own a property and I'm a couple months behind. At this point, I'm going to be getting letters from the bank, telling me that I better pay and here's my balance and all that stuff, but I'm not in pre foreclosure yet. Now, once that 90, 120 days hit, the bank will start to send me a different type of letter with a different type of verbiage telling me, hey, man, we warned you. Now we're starting the foreclosure process. This is your actual warning that we're going to foreclose on the property. And then boom, they slap the lis pendens against your property. And then now in this example, I'm officially in pre-foreclosure status, headed towards an actual foreclosure. Okay. So as an investor, why should you pursue pre-foreclosure leads? What's in it for you? Listen, there's a million different reasons of why I think you should go after these leads, and they have tons of benefits. Here's the two most important reasons. Number one, you're truly adding value to somebody's life. Okay, so let's say you're launching a campaign, for absentee owners or high equity property holders, vacant properties, whatever the case is, whatever you typically do. At the end of the day, when you find a motivated seller in those situations, absolutely, you're helping them out. It feels good. They're going to unload the property and you're giving them cash. It's great. But when you help somebody, it's just a different feeling when you're able to help somebody that's facing an actual foreclosure. They're not just a typical motivated seller where they want cash in their pocket and they're tired and they want to move on. You're actually helping somebody. You're kind of like a superhero in a way, swooping down and actually saving them from foreclosure. It just hits different in these situations. So you're adding true value to somebody's life and you're able to get a really good deal along the way. Okay? Reason number two that I think is awesome is the seller's motivation is baked into the deal. All right. To go back what I said before, when you're marketing to these other types of motivated seller leads, vacant properties, absentee owners, whatever, you have to get them on the phone. One of the first things you're doing is you're understanding their motivation, because at the end of the day, the actual condition of the property is completely irrelevant. The property could be a complete shithole. It doesn't matter if they're not absolutely motivated to sell, right? So you get them on the phone, and your first objective is to understand their motivation. Why do they want to sell, and how fast do they want to sell? We all know that. That's how you get a good deal. When you're dealing with pre-foreclosure leads, you're taking that same angle. Obviously, you want to make sure you have a deep understanding of their motivation. But let's be honest, when you're marketing to pre-foreclosure leads, you already know why they're motivated to sell. That motivation is baked into the deal. So it makes it a lot easier for you as the investor to have that conversation, answer their questions, seek more information, and then provide a solution for their problem. Because again, you already know the gist of why they want to sell. They're facing foreclosure. So, how do you get these pre-foreclosure leads? Look, there's a million different types of list sources you could use from. Okay, that you could use to pull the leads. I highly suggest finding one that's good for you. Do your research and pull the trigger. Okay, there's tons of list sources out there. The two that I'm going to mention to you now, I'm only mentioning them because I have actual experience and success with both of them. Okay. Number one is the Red X. Now, I've used the Red X in the past a bunch. I don't use it a lot now, but it has worked for me in the past. I've gotten deals and I've made money with it. Okay. I don't remember how much, Mikey, how much does the Red X cost a month?
Typically around $100 for.
Okay, so the Red X is $100 a month. It was a bit cheaper when I used to use it. Okay, the Red X is about $100 a month. And then what they do is if you want to expand into multiple markets and multiple counties, it's $10 additional for every market you want to expand into. Okay, so it's $100 flat to pull your list, and then you have to pay, if you want to expand into other counties, an additional $10 per county. The Red X is great. Like I said, I've used it in the past, but right now I'm a big proponent of PropStream. And honestly, it's just from being in Justin's group, talking to all you guys in the group. It just made me get PropStream, and I'm absolutely in love with it. So PropStream is what I use now. It's $99 a month flat just to use the service. And then what's really cool is pulling pre-foreclosures in PropStream. It's already populated for you. It's perfect. It's set up, ready to go. And then to skip trace, you could do all that within PropStream. So it's 99 bucks a month flat. And then to skip trace, it's 12 cents per lead. So, it's an all-in-one system. That's what I personally use to prospect to my pre-foreclosures right now.
Red
Okay.
X is, two packages, $40 and $80, just to correct that.
Okay. Correction on the Red X. There's two separate packages. It's one for 40, one for 80. So, figure out which one is best for you. I don't have a lot of details. Like I said, I don't use it anymore, but I used to. 40 bucks, 80 bucks. And then, they're going to charge you additional money to expand into markets. Now, a little tip I have for you, whichever list source you decide that's best for you, whether it's Red X, PropStream, something I didn't mention, whatever the case is, I highly suggest that when you're pulling your pre-foreclosure list, divide them into two lists. Don't just pull all of your pre-foreclosures at once, okay? You want to pull a list that is specifically properties that are in just traditional pre-foreclosures with their list pendants. And then you want to pull a separate list for properties that are headed to auction. Okay, I'm going to repeat that again, and I'm going to slow down because I want you to write that down. That's super crucial. All right. Divide your pre-foreclosure prospecting into two separate lists. One for pre-foreclosures, okay, list pendants, and then make a separate list for properties that are headed to auction. Here's why. You don't want to have one list with all of those leads, because when they're in two separate lists, that gives you the opportunity to tailor your marketing and tailor your message to those specific lists. So if I'm marketing to somebody that, is in so deep into pre-foreclosure that they're headed to an auction, their property is going to be auctioned, let's say in 30, 60, 90 days, my message to them is going to be different and a lot more urgent compared to someone who just got a pre-foreclosure filed on them. All right. So that's a huge benefit for you. I highly suggest you do that. All right. So I'm going to go over briefly 4 different ways to actually prospect to these pre-foreclosure leads. Obviously, guys, there's way more than 4. I don't have to tell you that. These are just a basic 4, and I'll give you a little insight onto how I actually do it. Number 1, phone prospecting. Okay, you're going to phone prospect to pre-foreclosure leads. I say this all the time. I cannot stress it enough. I would not do a hard sales script when you're talking to pre-foreclosure leads on the phone. All right. These people are in very high stress situations. They have the bank sending them threatening letters. They have real estate investors, constantly reaching out to them. It's a very scary time for these people. The last thing on earth they want to do is pick up the phone and talk to a telemarketer. Okay. They want to talk to a human being and they want to vent. So maybe your hardline sales script work for other types of lead sources. When it comes to people that are behind on their mortgage, I would advocate against it. Okay. I would suggest just letting the conversation flow, have an idea of what you want to say, have an outline, have an idea of how, in the direction you want the conversation to go. Overall, just let the conversation flow. You should be doing a lot more listening than you should talking. And then as you're letting them talk, you're paying attention, figuring out, getting a deep understanding of what their problem is. And then at the end of it, you could explain to them how you have the solution to their problem and how you specialize in their specific pre-foreclosure situation. Okay. And then with that, the whole tone of the conversation should be a more laid back, passive approach compared to maybe what you normally do. I know there's a lot of sales gurus out there. I am personally not one, but I know a lot of them, teach kind of a hardline, aggressive, to the point sales. Again, when you're dealing with this type of lead, I would suggest not doing that. Shut up and listen. Let the conversation flow. Be a human being, not a telemarketer, and then just let the whole overall tone. You want it to be a little bit more laid back than what you typically do. Okay, you want to build that rapport and that trust. All right, moving on. Let's talk about texting, the SMS text messaging to these pre-foreclosure leads. Look, if you're structuring these texts in like a novel, nobody wants to read that. Okay, they're gonna look at it. It's gonna look super spammy. They're gonna block your number and move on with the rest of their day. When you're sending these texts or you're crafting these mass texts, you want it to be short, sweet, and to the point. Get to the point. Be polite, but for God's sakes, get to the point. Do not send them a Bible verse. Okay. Nobody wants to read that. And then when they respond to you, make sure you're explaining to them. This is the key. When you get someone that's somewhat interested and they're in pre-foreclosure, make sure that they understand and that you're explaining to them that this is your niche. Okay. This is going to separate you from the other competition that is sending mass text messages to pre-foreclosure leads, and they're not following up the proper way, and they're not responding and having that conversation the proper way. So again, when you send these texts, the seller responds, they show interest, make sure almost immediately that they understand this is your niche and you could specifically help them with the situation that they're in. Okay, that's going to separate it. And then also, this is important too, before you go spending money on, the list source and the SMS campaigns, you could run up quite a bill for yourself, especially if you're in one of these smaller markets. Make sure you do your research and check your market first. Make sure it's a market that actually makes sense and has enough pre-foreclosure inventory, okay? Because when you're marketing to these people, you're going to have a very low conversion rate. And that's fine. You need to embrace it. That's just the deal with these leads. You're going to have a lower conversion rate. So you need the numbers to make sense, right? There has to be enough leads for you to reach out to so that it actually makes sense for you to spend money and prospect. What I personally like to do is before, especially if you're using RedX or one of these systems where it's tough to check online, call up the sales rep. Pick up the phone. It's a little extra legwork. Call the sales rep. Tell them the market you want to download these pre-foreclosures and prospect to them, and then get a count. Get a count over the phone. That way, if there's not a lot of pre-foreclosure leads, you're not going to waste your time and money. Okay, so that's the first thing I would do. All right, moving on. Let's talk about emailing the pre-foreclosure leads. I'm a huge fan when it comes to emailing the pre-foreclosure leads. Look, a lot of people, text messages have become very, very popular because, let's be honest, they're easy to do. I personally like emails because when you have a list of people and you're reaching out via phone and text, as I mentioned before, the psychology of a lot of people in pre-foreclosure are that they're almost in hiding in a way. When, Joe Schmo is reaching out to them, they don't know who you are. To them, you could be, a solicitor, you could be somebody from like a credit agency or something. You know what I mean? They're terrified. They don't know who you are. They may not want to answer the phone or answer your text. Now, when you send them an email, a lot of these people that won't respond via phone and text, they'll respond to your email. You'd be really surprised. A lot of people just might think it's more professional. And it's just also, guys, think about this too. If somebody shoots you an email, it's just a hell of a lot easier to just, you're on, maybe you're going through your email for work or whatever the case is, and then you get an email. It's just very easy to respond to an email. You're already in it. You just type on your keyboard and click send. So just for the pure simplicity of it all, email prospecting can be an effective way to get your, response rate up on these campaigns. Okay. And as I touched on a little bit before, it's probably a bit underutilized. Maybe not, but I'd say there's a high chance in your market that it's a bit underutilized. All right. Number 4 is direct mail. Archaic, around forever, direct mail prospecting. So, right, there's a good and a bad thing when it comes to direct mail. The cool thing, so let's start with the bad first. The bad thing about it is you have to be patient, right? It's a cycle, it's expensive, you have to pay for postage, maybe you use a third party source to do it, whatever the case is. You have to, it's expensive and you need patience because you have to touch these people so many times before you finally start to get callbacks. Okay. That's the downside of it. The cool thing about it is it gives you the opportunity, because it's a longer form of conversation. You have the opportunity to use niche verbiage. Okay. Truly explain to them, hey, I'm not just looking to buy random houses. I specialize in helping people specifically in your situation, in pre-foreclosure. Okay. And then another cool thing is, again, because it's a longer form of conversation, you could offer multiple solutions. For example, a short sale. Let's say you prospect to pre-foreclosure leads, you launch a mail campaign. You could add maybe in the middle or towards the end, hey, Mr. Seller, by the way, we know you're behind, but if you don't have any equity and you're upside down on your mortgage, don't worry about it. We could still help you. You could add, it gives you the opportunity to tell more of the story of how you can help. So I hope that helped as usual. I appreciate you guys coming on live and listening to me rant. And then thanks in advance for, once Justin has this up on YouTube, whoever else is going to watch it after the fact, feel free to reach out to me absolutely anytime. You don't have to have a deal in hand. I don't care. I'm happy to help you. Any kind of pre-foreclosure, short sale related questions, shoot me an email right there on the screen, vieracompanies@gmail. Like I tell everybody, be careful with my last name. It's got an extra I in there. It's tricky to spell. And then also I have a new YouTube channel. Just launched it. It's called Universal Short Sales, named after my company. And, click to subscribe on it. I'm always posting new short sale, pre-foreclosure tips, ways you could get more deals, make more money. And then also, because I specialize in distressed real estate, I'm always posting information and news specifically tailored to real estate investors and real estate agents, who are interested in the distress space. So hope that helped, and we will talk to everybody soon. Take care.